Now, one of the companies at the forefront of working to mitigate the global water crisis is Xylem, helping communities in more than 150 countries become more water secure with technology that manages every part of the cycle, from clean water delivery to wastewater treatment. Joining me now is Patrick Decker, President and CEO of Xylem. Patrick, Pippa gave us a really good view of the inefficiencies in the system. How are you working to improve that?
Well, first of all, Deirdre, thanks for having me. Really appreciate being on the show. I'm just back from Stockholm myself, Stockholm Water Week, where once a year, many minds come together around the world, and we focus on things like drought. But, today's drought is going to be tomorrow's flood, plains. So whether it be the Yangtze River, whether it be the Rhine here in Europe, whether it be droughts in California, whether it be what's going on in Pakistan, Jackson, Mississippi, which we'll talk about. I don't think any one of you need me to come on and just remind people how important that is. What I do, and these events get attention for obvious reasons, both the human, but also the economic toll. But they're evidence of a bigger trend here, and that is the intersection of climate change and aging infrastructure, where two pieces of data I would offer up to the viewers. On average, 30% of the water that is intended to be delivered for use is lost along the way for reasons that we can describe. But secondly, we don't talk much about the impact on business and industry. The value of water to an industrial client is when they don't have it and they disrupt production and they have lost economic profits and lost jobs, et cetera. So this is a bigger system. But what I want to segue with is the good news is the technologies and the solutions exist to address these issues. And I know we'll dig into that in a bit more.
Yeah, and Patrick, I live in California. I'm only out east for the week, so I'm well aware of the drought situation. It plays into our everyday life. I wonder, though, when we talk about these inefficiencies and the technology being there, are businesses focused on it? Not water businesses, but businesses that use water and rely on it. Do they have their eye on improving technology and decreasing the waste?
I believe their eyes are turning towards this. It is happening over time. It happens by geography and industry. And I think that as businesses understand even more that the value of water to them is not the price or the cost of water to their operations. It's actually rather small and minuscule, but it's when they do not have access to sustainable water supply and they're working in areas of water stress, and therefore they have stoppage. But two, there's increasing regulation around treating wastewater as well. And so that cost of regulation is increasing. And I think their brands, their images in terms of being responsible in water supply, is becoming increasingly important. And that's why many more of them are taking a kind of neutral water pledge in their operations. So I'm optimistic that, the movement is beginning here. But again, until people understand that the solutions exist to deal with it, we can be frozen by fear.
That's the enterprise side, Patrick. What about the government side? We just spoke to Pippa about some federal support. Is it enough? Is the government doing enough right now? And some of that support, what does that mean for your business?
We are encouraged by what's being done, not just in the U.S., but whether it be in China's 5-year plan, whether it be some of the EU mandates and funding that are happening there, as well as obviously, within the U.S. It's unfortunate that it's taken these kind of events to galvanize support and attention, but we're optimistic about the focus being put on it. Is it enough? Probably never enough. But I would also say that we have an angle, as I know many other players in the water space do, that the power of digital and technology has significantly reduced the cost of investment required to address these issues. I've got a couple of examples I would offer up that are just prototypes of what's happening around the world. In South Bend, Indiana, we were able to work with them to reduce the amount of capital expenditure required to deal with severe stormwater overflow and to reduce that overflow by 80%. And they were able to do that at about a $500 million reduction in cost. In Malaysia, we've worked with the Malaysian utilities there to help them identify more than 300 leaks in their clean water pipeline that has significantly improved their water distribution, but also significantly reduced their operating costs. So my message, Deirdre, is that we need not be afraid of these things because of a price tag. The technologies exist. to do these things at significantly lower cost than ever before.
Are those moving in lockstep? Last quick question for you, Patrick. But the price of water, I was reading, for most people, it's less than the cost of their cell phone bill. Does that increase in the coming years, especially as we face more droughts?
It doesn't need to. Water is local, and so obviously that depends upon the state of affairs in any one community. But again, I really want the viewers to understand that the opportunities exist here to do things in a much more efficient and much more affordable way. And for that reason, again, I am optimistic that we will get through this. But it is a team sport, and we really all need to be in this effort together.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.